away with $178,000. That's $172,000 more without ever talking to the insurance company again. So yeah, this is for anyone who's been injured in a car accident. Just click the link below, answer 4 quick questions, and see if your case qualifies for a major settlement, just like I did. If you qualify, the team at Free Case Files handles everything for you. You don't pay a dime unless you pay. Thousands of people, like me, Raymond, Jasmine, and Eli, have already used this and gotten huge payouts. Imagine that moment when you check your account and see tens of thousands in it out there. That's the power of this tool. So don't wait. Click the link, answer 4 questions, and see how much your accident might be worth. And please, share this with your friends and family who've been injured too. They deserve to get paid what they're owed. Free Case Files. Click the link below and find out what your car accident is worth. 30 seconds or less.
High-stakes battle across London offers struggle to capture with the figures of the proclamation that Springfield Jack will never die. The mysterious ape just vanished, leaving an air of uncertainty. The club leader finally explained the Londoners preyed on civilians under the guise of Jack. In contrast, the supernatural Jack exudes self-confidence, being himself as the terror of London and displaying a penchant for fighting and confidence. Both versions display high-level combat skills and a high-paid threshold. The club leader used close for wall scaling, while the supernatural Jack showcases teleportation and the ability to create doubles of himself. Immortality, healing, and a mysterious leap of faith were among the supernatural Jack's extraordinary abilities. The tale of Springfield Jack is a very interesting blend of folklore, mystery, and supernatural intrigue in the ghastly streets of Victorian London. Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, 2 of Ubisoft's flagship franchises. They both have been subjects of speculation regarding a potential connection. This possibility goes beyond the shared elements of convoy and gameplay, similar to the Easter egg scattered across the games as a similar interweaving of the two universes. The main one is the Requiescat at the Apache mission, which is a convoy mission in the first Watch Dogs game. You play as a UPS and our task is to neutralize Olivier Garnier, the CEO of Abstergo Entertainment. This mission connects directly to the events in Assassin's Creed Origins, where a photo shows Aiden Pierce from Watch Dogs gunning down Garnier. Another reference to show that both universes are connected is the search and Jacob Frye descendants. The latest Watch Dogs game, Watch Dogs Legions, allowed you to explore operatives' profiles, and a screenshot before the game's actual release hinted at a search for Jacob Frye descendants. This implies that characters from Assassin's Creed, such as Jacob Frye, may exist in the Watch Dogs universe. It's obvious that there is a connection between both universes. However, Ubisoft are very adamant that this is just Easter eggs, and both games are not linked.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know what you're going to have inside? Some things are worth protecting. Your devices. Learn more at the internet website aikido.dev/10pm.
It was the stock market that started history's greatest wave of wealth creation. From factory workers in Detroit to farmers in Omaha, companies in great American companies. But today, most innovative companies are staying private owned, which means everyday Americans are missing out. Until now, introducing VCX, the public ticker for private tech.
I'll be honest, this is the first time giving my opinion in this video, and I could not care less what Ubisoft says. It's obvious that both universes are connected. I mean, there's even an Abstergo reference in Watch Dogs 1, where we see Abstergo in the profiles of characters. The mention of Abstergo in people's profile as a layer of mystery, raising a question about potential connection between characters and organizations. So what do you think? Are both Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs connected? Let me know in the comments below. Subject Zero was a person that was speculated to be a Philippine alien author. The name Subject Zero was given to her instead of Subject 1, and being nicknamed for this is because she was once an Abstergo employee and also a developer of an alternate autonomous device. Alien Buck held the position of Project Director for Abstergo Industries' Cellular Initiative, a venture that dedicated to explore the genetic remnants of historical figures that were not directly linked to participants by utilizing the native science. She achieved this by utilizing a DNA sample from her son Seamus, to relive the memories of her ex-husband's mother, Miriam Kurtz, who was a prisoner during Nazi Germany in World War II. And then tragically, on the night of August 1981, Aileen sustained a severe injury that brought an untimely end to her career. Sometime between this period and 2013, Aileen passed away. The moniker Subject Zero embodies the acknowledgement of witnessing for the very first time the profound effects of the bleeding effects. Despite Warren Village's animus being somewhat safer, given that it was utilized more widely, Subject Zero state understood the perils of such advanced experimentation, marking a very important moment in understanding the bleeding effects. What's rather interesting is that following the death of Dr. Warren Village in late 2012, there were unauthorized audio files that surfaced in his residence.
Read the labels on the tape's canisters. These recordings were made over a 14-month period between 1980 and 1981 without the consent of their primary subject, Mrs. Eileen Bach, a colleague of Dr. Giddings and the originator of Abstergo's surrogate initiative. Mrs. Bach is now deceased. It should be stated unequivocally that Dr. Vidic made these recordings illegally and of his own volition using wiretaps and hidden microphones. Abstergo Industries had no knowledge of his actions and disavows any responsibility for them.
These recordings obtained through wiretaps and hidden microphones spanned a 14-month duration from 1980 to 1981. They were created without the consent of their primary subject, Aileen Bach, and chronicled their endeavors in the Surrogates Initiative in the modern date of Assassin's Creed Grand Flag, be able to search for audio tapes. Now let's move on to the final tier, and that is tier 6, or more commonly known as the Abyss. Well, it's the Abyss in my iceberg. It may be called something else elsewhere. This tier is for the well-educated. If you know any of these, then I commend you. Let's start with the Fountain of Youth. The Fountain of Youth is a legendary spring believed to rejuvenate anyone who tries to such fountains have been shared globally for centuries, reaching the world of Herodotus, the Alexander Morgans, and the tons of Preston John. In its terms, the Fountain of Youth is a music and is situated in Florida. According to legends, the consider these waters back to the perpetual youth. In the discovery, numerous European explorers sought to locate and possess the fountain. In 1521, the Templar-influenced Spanish explorer Juan Martin journeyed to Florida with the aim of acquiring the artifact. Yes, Florida were very resolute in preventing consequently unsuccess, and dispatched Manuel Ramon Valero de Lugo to persuade him to abandon his quest. When Ponce de Leon refused, the assassins were resorted to strike him down with a bullet and arrow, leading to his demise. Not much more than the Assassin's Creed, so it's a mystery in itself. Erudito, also known as the Erudito Collective. This was a hacking group that opposed the Templar-controlled Abstergo Industries, comprising multiple independent users united by a database. This which would be the true sense and channels, emails. Erudito interacted with individuals like Desmond Mars, now participants in Abstergo's projects. In 2016, after a period of inactivity, Erudito returned, but the renewed purpose remained unknown. They had a history of hacking Abstergo's systems, the PBS program, and Animus Project. This was done to expose hidden information. Erudito challenged Abstergo by introducing Erudito credits, an alternative currency, and interfering with Abstergo's public release of Animus technology. Despite arrests and a decline in activities, Erudito resurfaced in 2016, assisting the assassin Charlotte de la Cruz. They later collaborated with the assassins, including a shift in their objectives. Erudito agents were actively working with the assassins by 2017, forming a newfound alliance. Earlier in this video,
if your data has struggled with urban climax, also interested on the sex archives plus climax control repairs changed everything for us. It's been installed though with a 3D treatment, so now I know you can fix the strawberry version and having longer lasting effect. You just fill out this intake form to get started and the whole process is 100% off. A licensed provider recommended the right personalized treatment for my husband and his needs. And the fellowship for free industry packaging is prescribed. No office visits, pharmacy visits, or insurance required. Seriously, if you're ready to improve your sex life, hit the link below to get started today.
about the Assassin's Creed editions and the Asylum's appearance, well, this is the case. I guess it's something
Non uezene alcunque ce te
the
dico.
first thing that they denied, but they had to fix it on. So ultimately, one had to make it out.
Non uezene alcunque ce te dico.
Next up, we have the General of the Cross. So what do I mean by that? Well, the highest ranked figure in the Templar Order is known as the General of the Cross. This individual holds the highest rank and oversees the decisions performed by the three Guardians, deciding whether to endorse or reject some of their actions. The General's identity remains concealed from the rest of the Templars, including the Inner Sanctum. Only the three Guardians have knowledge of the General's identity. These Guardians serve as a crucial link between the General of the Cross and the Inner Sanctum. One notable Guardian, Alan Rickon, featured in the first Assassin's Creed and portrayed by Jeremy Irons in the 2016 film adaptation, is the sole Guardian whose identity has been revealed. Alan Rickon, who also held the position of a CEO or Abstergo, overseeing the board of directors, was a member of the Sanctum as well. This suggests that the Guardians have the capability to assume various roles within the Templar Order, while also acting as liaisons to the General of the Cross. As for the other two, not much is known about them. In the General of the Cross, there is once again not much information about this particular individual. For all we know, he could be hidden in plain sight. Marquis de Bouillon, this was a French aristocrat and a member of the Templar Order active during the French Revolution. His mission involved locating and eliminating warless individuals on behalf of Louis II. But what makes this particular person so interesting is that his character was removed from the Assassin's Creed Unity without really an explanation. During the 2014 E3 called Gameplay Demo Mission for Assassin's Creed Unity, they showcased a mission that featured Marquis de Bouillon as the intended target. But once the game was released, his character was just no more. That was 2 years after the release of Assassin's Creed Unity. Marquis de Bouillon did appear in the game.
Some folks were fixing to settle on a plot not far from here. Seems a big black bear with a taste for human blood settled there first. Bring the beast down and some good people will be grateful.
On what you find on 5, you head over to this courtyard of the Palais de Luxembourg. In this courtyard, you'll notice that there's a big tree and a man standing on top of it. That man is Marquis de Bouillon himself. If you interact with the giant cake, you just jump off the cake and start getting a boss fight. De Bouillon has a lot of health, so it can't be a radical fight. Once you take him down, you can loot him, and he'll have 50,000 franc on his body. Oh, and also fireworks will start to go off and you'll see achievements. It's pretty cool to speak about, knowing that this Easter egg was not discovered quite quickly after the release of Unity. It did take some time for them to uncover Marquis de Bouillon in the game. On Bionic and Desmond related, we can see a scar on Bionic's lip, which is similar to what Desmond Mars has. While biologically scars are not hereditary, this was noting that in the Assassin's Creed universe, they sometimes research interested by ancestry. Desmond, Ezio, and Altair all have the same scar, which could be attributed to them sharing the same face model in the first 3 games. Although we witness by acquiring his scar, it does raise a question of whether the specific area is genetically prone to scarring, making it likely for its scar to form there eventually. Yet, considering Bai lived for over 2,000 years before Desmond, any meaningful genetic correlation might have diluted over time. Oh, and also even after Desmond changed face models, the scar remained. It appears to be more of a coincidence than a deliberate genetic trait. There's information from Assassin's Creed Black Flag inside an email, and it suggests that Desmond has an ancestor in Asian origins. Another point of interest is that Elijah Miles, who is the son of Desmond Miles, has a similar scar, strengthening the argument that certain characters with this scar are their ancestors. However, when this character is Lucy also had a relationship with Skull, though it was never clarified whether it was sent let's just hope it's not. But here's the interesting part. The asset directly extracted by his DNA from the games, establishing that it has not directly served by she's really one in the code of the game. However, Mike's wife, Maya of Alexandria, also known as Amunet, has found in ties to
Thank you, my friend.
Maya is the great granddaughter of Cassandra, Cassandra's son and Venus. So what do you think? Do you think Bayek is Desmond's ancestor? The site of Eden, a mystical relic once wielded by Saturn, is the father of Juno during the tumultuous human-issue war. The site of Eden emerges as a mysterious and strong artifact within the Assassin's Creed universe. Its importance is embedded through a compelling flashback in Assassin's Creed.
Hey, did you know that kids may make the same toxic chemical that's used in taxidermy? Formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde, the heart of art. Formaldehyde.
Think you're meaner than goose grease, do you? I'm organising a tourney for lads like you. But it's not like I did this anyway. Got to prove yourself first. Here's a list of names. Beat each of these fruits and you'll get your spot. Then we'll see how tough you really are.
Uprising. In the base of the site after the cataclysmic end of universe civilization remains very uncertainty. The information about this interesting Eden material weapon does not detail much anywhere. What I can say is that the size of Eden is classified as both a very strong weapon in Assassin's Creed lore, whilst also being a piece of Eden, wielded by BC, particularly Saturn, and later by humans. It possesses unique engineering abilities. The size of Eden boasts power nullification, enabling it to counter illusions and unveil hidden truths and realities. Additionally, it demonstrates energy manipulation, empowering its blade with a strong surge of energy. In terms of potency, the sight aligns with the other AC weapons such as the Spear of Eden, the Staff of Eden, or the Sword of Eden. Its attack potency reaches the level of small building. If you don't know what I mean by small building, well, small building means characters or objects that are capable of destroying rooms or entire small constructions such as houses or more modest buildings. That's the power of the sight speed. The sight speed is classified as Supersight Plus. Now, if you don't know what Supersight Plus is, this means the sight speed can reach a speed of 2.5 to 5 Mach, which let's just say is very, very fast. The sight speed is in harmony with the swift nature of colors and weapons. Its durability is also at the level of small building, and it reflects the robustness shared by Belarus artifacts. Optional parameters define the sight's range as extended melee, showcasing its effectiveness in close quarters combat. Interestingly, there are no notable weaknesses that are documented in the lore of this weapon. The Sight of Eden stands as an elite weapon in the Assassin's Creed lore, inviting exploration into its peaceful legacy and the echoes of an ancient conflict. Assassin's Creed Utopia is an abandoned and cancelled project by Ubisoft that started all the way back in 2005. The game was intended to be developed by both Ubisoft Montreal and Cabal. The game was scheduled for an exclusive release to GI, a Japanese social gaming platform specializing in free-to-play apps accessible on Android and Apple devices. However, now it's just simply a cancelled Assassin's Creed game. You may be wondering why it was cancelled. Well, the cancellation of Assassin's Creed Utopia was a result of various delays and complications in the game development. The project was initially revealed to be a partnership announced by GIE and Ubisoft in February 2012, with plans for a December release. Despite assurances about the game's progress in events like E3 and the different dates 2012, Assassin's Creed Utopia faced several delays. Ubisoft decided to collaborate with GIE, driven by a desire to introduce social elements to the Assassin's Creed series and attract players radically. However, the partnership faced setbacks, and the game's winter 2012 release was repeatedly postponed. By November 2012, after the debut of Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed Utopia was still set for an undefined winter release. However, communication about the game ceased, leading to speculation about its fate. The lack of updates persisted for months, and Assassin's Creed Utopia was eventually officially confirmed as cancelled by Ubisoft in 2013. Artist and Zhang, who worked on sunset pieces for the game, revealed on Ars Nation that the development of Assassin's Creed Utopia had been frozen, providing closure to the long-standing mystery surrounding the game's fate. Patrice Descendants, born on May 9, 1974. Patrice is a famous Canadian game designer, and his famous for, well, he's the creator of Assassin's Creed. He held the position of creative director for the 3 finally named titles of the franchise, Assassin's Creed. Patrice Descendants also directed Ubisoft's Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, showcasing his significant contributions to the gaming industry. But Patrice Descendants has a very interesting and common story. Despite being the literal creator of Assassin's Creed, he was actually fired from Ubisoft in 2012. Ironically, you may say that this resulted in the downfall of the Assassin's Creed franchise, but why was he fired? Well, Descendants expressed his surprise, stating, Contrary to any statements made earlier today, this morning I was terminated by Ubisoft. I was notified of this termination in person, handed a termination notice, and was unceremoniously escorted out of the building by 2 guards. Without being able to say goodbye to my team or collect my personal belongings, this was not my decision. Patrice Dessler strongly contested Ubisoft's actions, even them baseless and without merit. Previously serving as Ubisoft's creative director until his initial departure in 2010, Dessler had actually rejoined Ubisoft with optimism about producing new ideas and high-quality titles. After being let go from the company and prior to establishing his own studio, he only played one Ubisoft game, and that was Assassin's Creed 3. However, after a mere 2 hours of playing it, he switched it off, realizing, I'm working, acknowledging the helplessness in addressing the issues. Patrice Dessler in today's day claims to not think of Ubisoft at all, admitting that he serves its defense against individuals like me. He says that the Ubisoft logo has entered my house since the beginning, and expresses deep respect for all the teams involved. The creators, marketers, and managers, recognizing that even though it's Ubisoft, ultimately consists of individuals. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. This video took me quite a while to make. Perhaps one day I'll make a part 2. Who knows? If you did enjoy this Assassin's Creed Iceberg video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It'll help me out massively. And with that said, I'll see you guys in my next video.
Apply now. Open a Trend checking account in 2 minutes and we'll buy you up to $200. Apply now. Open a Trend checking account in 2 minutes and we'll buy you up to $200. Apply now. Open a Trend checking account in 2 minutes and we'll buy you up to $200. Apply now.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a very exciting announcement for parents everywhere. It's called Mint Kids. It's a plan specifically designed for kids just getting their first phones.
It's a full-size plan for your mini-me.
Nothing like that.
Well, it's unlimited talk and text. 5 gigabytes of data for a perfectly sized plan, so I can't get into too much trouble, right, Big Ryan?
See, this is the kind of stuff that I don't want my kids seeing online.
See.
No.
See.
Stop.
See.
Terrifying little creature.
Today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. Keep watching to learn more about the game. For as long as I can remember, I have loved conspiracies in books, movies, video games. The big reveal where everything you thought you knew was a lie. One of my favorite memories is watching this VHS copy of The Matrix. Look how dusty it is. I was sitting on the floor of my bedroom eating a bowl of Kraft mac and cheese. It blew my mind when I discovered that Neo's world wasn't the real world. There is a story within a story, another layer that's peeled back, revealing the truth. And the truth is this dark, dystopian reality where the world as we know it does not exist. Probably too dark for a 6 or 7-year-old. The Matrix is what made me fall in love with sci-fi and conspiracy, which is why when Assassin's Creed came along, I knew it was meant for me. Today we're going to dive into the deep, very dark conspiracy theories of this series. We're talking about the truth puzzles from Assassin's Creed 2, solving ciphers to uncover secret letters between the world we
years. Grand plans that supposedly took place throughout history. Bloody writing on the walls of the prison cell. Symbols hidden for us to find. Who wrote them? What do they mean? And later on, we're going to take a field trip to the site of JFK's assassination, one of the biggest conspiracy theories in Assassin's Creed. There's so much going on here, and to understand it all, we have to go back to the original Assassin's Creed. I gotta say, I really hate it when people say you should just skip the first game in the series. It's old and repetitive. The controls are clunky. You're better off just starting with Assassin's Creed 2. If you believe any of these things, guess what? You are now trapped in Abstergo's labs. I'm holding you hostage, and as my captive audience, I will guide you. By the end of this video, I promise you, you will appreciate Assassin's Creed 1 more than you did before. The story of Assassin's Creed starts with Desmond Miles. He's kidnapped off the street and wakes up in this cold, sterile office space, gasping for air. He finds himself strapped to this super advanced machine, something he's never seen before. He has no idea what's going on. These kidnappers want something from his head. If he doesn't help, they'll put him in a coma and kill him.
It's happy end. Do you know what these developers have installed?
Some things are worth protecting. Your devices are among them. Learn more at internet website aikido.dev/10pm.
This settlement check completely changed my life, and it came from a car accident I almost forgot about. I'm honestly shaking as I record this. I never imagined something this big could come from an accident that felt so small at the time. If you've been in any kind of vehicle accident in the past 2 years, even if you think it was minor, even if you were just a passenger, you might be entitled to far more than you realize. Here's my story. I was stopped at a red light when, bam, a distracted driver slammed into me from behind. My neck felt a little stiff, but the car seemed okay. We exchanged info and I drove home. Big mistake. Over the next few weeks, the pain got worse. I started missing work. My car developed issues I hadn't noticed right away. The insurance company tossed me a tiny offer and basically said, take it or leave it. I almost did. Then my sister's boyfriend Marcus told me about something called free case evals. He said, dude, just answer 4 questions. What's the worst that could happen? At first, I thought he was exaggerating, but he had used the exact same tool after his own accident and told me it changed everything for him. So I clicked the link, answered 4 simple questions, and in less than 30 seconds, it told me I might actually qualify for a real settlement. I figured, yeah, right. But I had nothing to lose. A couple of months later, I was holding a settlement check that was dozens of times higher than what insurance first offered me. And here's where it gets crazy. I've shared this tool with 5 people I know who've been in accidents. My coworker Diana, just a passenger in an Uber, thought she had no case. She ended up with a life-changing settlement. My neighbor Kevin thought his accident from over a year ago was too late. It wasn't. My cousin Ashley, a bike accident with a car door. My buddy Ryan swore it was too minor to matter. He was wrong. Even my mom's friend Janet, she's in her late 60s and barely uses technology, but with some help, she filed and was shocked at the results. 5 people, 5 different situations, and all of them discovered they were entitled to way more than they thought. Here's what nobody tells you. Insurance companies have one job, to pay you as little as possible. They count on you not knowing your rights. But this tool changes everything. You don't need to understand law. You don't need to hunt for some random attorney. You just click the link below this video, answer 4 basic questions, and it instantly checks if your case qualifies. If you do, they connect you with a specialist who handles everything. No upfront fees, no court dates, no fighting insurance companies yourself. A year ago, I would have accepted that tiny insurance payout and considered myself lucky. But knowledge is power. Diana was just a passenger. Kevin thought his case was expired. Ryan thought his was too minor. Even Janet, who can barely send a text, discovered what was possible. The craziest part? Most accident victims leave massive amounts of money behind, simply because they don't know a tool like this exists. Insurance companies love when you stay in the dark. But you're watching this video right now, which means you don't have to. Whether you were driving, riding as a passenger, walking, cycling, or even in an Uber, if someone else caused your accident in the past 2 years, you You deserve to know what you may actually be entitled to. Don't make the same mistake I almost made. Don't let insurance companies dictate what your pain is worth. Click the link below, answer 4 simple questions, and see if your accident qualifies. If you do, the free Case of Owls team does the heavy lifting for you. You just wait for answers. Thousands of people across the country have already done this and discovered settlements they never thought possible. Imagine the relief of finally covering bills, paying down debt, or getting back on your feet after such a stressful experience. But you'll never know unless you check. The clock is ticking. Don't wait until it's too late. Click the link now and discover what your case might really be worth. Free Case of Owls. 30 seconds, 4 questions. Start today.
I don't know about you, but being kidnapped is one of the most terrifying things I can think of happening to me. Everything from my life ripped away in an instant. The plot of this game feels like a horror. Every single detail here is meant to make you, the player, feel uncomfortable. The main theme on the title screen has this unnerving, droning sound. The hum of the lab where you're held captive pounds in your ears. The way the camera is fixed and lets you rotate between different angles during cutscenes. All of this adds to a feeling of tension and unease. Switching back to Desmond's perspective, we see what it's like to be strapped into this machine. It's a claustrophobic feeling, like you're at the dentist getting a tooth pulled. One of your captors introduces himself as Dr. Warren Fittick, and he explains how the machine works. Basically, our DNA contains the genetic memories of our ancestors, and the Animus lets us experience them, which, out of context, that sounds awesome. Like when Neo gets hooked up to the Matrix and Morpheus is programmed to train him, he learns Kung Fu, how to jump across buildings, how to dodge bullets. God, I fucking love Matrix. But this is not awesome. It is not fun to be in the Animus, at least not yet. Desmond is trapped. These mad scientists are running an insane experiment on him. If he doesn't do what they say, they will kill him. I hope I'm getting across just how dire this is, because it's such a bleak, horrific situation. To me, this is the engine that drives Assassin's Creed's conspiracy-filled story. Why has Desmond been kidnapped? What do these scientists want from him? Even when the game is like, hey, go war afar, as literally the coolest assassin that you've ever seen. That is really fun. But I never forget that I am Desmond. I am that guy trapped in this place. The game doesn't let you forget it either, because every now and then Desmond gets pulled out of the Animus. This is where you get a tiny bit of freedom. You get to walk around the lab, you can talk to Fittick, but he mostly just yells at you. God damn you, Desmond. His research assistant, Helen, seems friendly enough. Kind of tell you what's going on, but she doesn't give away much at first. Early on, you can eavesdrop on Fittick and Lucy arguing with Congress, and this just adds that feeling of desperation. This is all Desmond can do to figure out what's going on. Now this is really it's completely optional and easy to miss, so pay attention. At one point, Desmond notices that something's different. Unlock your bedroom door and swoop around on that. I don't know what you can do, but I did find this cool, and maybe this would unlock the Abstergo computer, but it turns out you need a password for that. This is that kind of so feeling that maybe this will work out, that who is helping you here? What are their motives? When you're done exploring, you go to bed. This is when Desmond starts to see visions, scribbles in bright red appear, flashing too quickly to recognize to these.
Many thanks, stranger. Those chaps had to run the place late. But good that someone's standing out.
Over time, Fittick and Lucy reveal what's happening. They work for Abstergo Industries, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies. Not only are they big pharma, Abstergo's a much more powerful ancient organization as these workers. These guys can't fix things the human race. Humanity is being controlled and told what to do. Only then can there be some peace and end to all conflict. Oh yeah, this one group of rich people enacting a world order. Sounds familiar. It's a bunch of real specific part. This game, I found out that there's a small secret society in Bavaria that oppose ideas like superstition, prejudice, and religious influence over public life while also promoting education and gender equality. They probably did it while dusting down nails in the tavern. All I'm saying is, if you're out there, Illuminati, reach out. Write a triangle with a piece of chalk on the term bench or something. I want to join you. The Templars of Assassin's Creed, though, are very they're based on being scary. You won't catch the idea that they're social came from behind the scenes, illustrating what happens. Sergo wants us to be better than we think history was not being taught in high school. That's not actually true. Conspiracy of the Templars and how they influence history has in my imagination as a teenager. Sweating out the ranks of the web of conspiracy. The idea that reality isn't what it seems. There's something bigger going on that's more important than any of us can imagine. It made me feel like I knew real truth. And I think that's why conspiracy theories take over people's lives and reality. They make you feel important and special, like you're part of some secret world that's been hidden from the rest of us. And they provide an understanding, a reasoning behind questions that we just don't have the answers to. Speaking for myself, I think it makes me uncomfortable when I don't know what's going on. I think that's true for a lot of people. Conspiracy theories provide answers, and that's a powerful feeling. At the end of Assassin's Creed, Desmond sees that bright red glowing writing all over the place. Too much time, the Animus has given him something called the bleeding effect. And in his bedroom, Desmond can finally read the writing on the wall. He realizes it was written in blood, and it was probably left specifically for him to find. But he still has no idea what it means. Now it's time to do my best impression of Tom Hanks from the Da Vinci Code, Dr. Robert Langdon from Baltimore's Symbology. Let's take a closer look at these symbols. This big butterfly-looking thing, this is a Lorentz system. It's a complex math equation that basically refers to the butterfly effect. This guy is the Mandelbrot set, another equation which is an example of how math can be beautiful. I don't know if I believe that. The Eye of Ra, Borromean rings, Machu Picchu. Besides looking creepy, written in blood, these don't connect to anything specific yet. Wait a second, there's one more symbol. Hold on. Is that the War Thunder logo? This video is sponsored by War Thunder, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. It's available now for free on PC consoles and mobile. War Thunder immerses you in the center of massive battles, surrounded by detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and the authentic sounds of war. You get to choose from 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships, starting with the fighter jets of modern day, all the way back to the biplanes of the 1920s. Every single vehicle is painstakingly detailed and modeled down to its individual parts. Plus, all types of armor, shells, and missiles behave just like they would in real life. X-ray view gives you a precise look at where the shell penetrated, what got hit, and how the vehicle was destroyed. More than 95 million players to date have played in War Thunder's epic PvP battles. Thanks to its massive content library, perfect for fans of military history. Personally, I love how War Thunder is buttery smooth. It runs on the in-house Daegor engine, which reduces lag and manages to maintain great graphics and high frames, even on the PCs. War Thunder pushes it a step further with in-depth customization, offering era-specific camos and markings for every vehicle. It's created by the community. Now is the perfect time to jump in. Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile by using my links in the description below and in the comment. Original players who haven't played in 6 months in PC and console also get a massive bonus. This includes premium vehicles, EV Valor vehicle deck, 100,000 silver clients, and 7 days of free content. This bonus is available for limited time, so financing for 38 months is also available. Scan the code here to learn more about this great offer and browse our entire inventory anytime. These offers expire at the end of the month, so take advantage of the savings today. Is estimated to affect about 30 million men in the U.S. Chems can help find the right solution for you. With a simple online intake, you can connect with a licensed provider and get access to treatments with
prescriptions for the ingredients you've prescribed. We'll support every step of the way. There's never been a better time to get the care you deserve. Zero of 90% of those customers are satisfied with their treatment plans. Feel like yourself again with trusted treatment plans. Start today at Heroes.com.
This is the main symbol I want to talk about. The Eye of Providence. The same one on the United States dollar bill. It's actually a closer look at $1. Turns out I don't have a $1 bill on me. I really should have done that before I started recording. Scrap. Then this is a real $1 bill. We got the eye on top of this unfinished pyramid with Latin that reads the New Order of the Ages. This is where the New World Order idea comes from. And it's so cool to me that this is just on the $1 bill. Something Americans use every single day and just don't even think twice about. The all-seeing eye first appeared 500 years ago, but the Freemasons adopted this symbol shortly after the U.S. gained independence, and that has only fueled the conspiracies that the United States was founded by the Freemasons, and they've been influencing every single decision we've made over the last 250 years. I was out driving the other day, and I swear to you, this just happened. I didn't look it up or anything. I found a real-life Masonic lodge. It's like the universe knew I was making this video. You got the Eye of Providence on top. I really like this black globe thing with the astrology signs wrapped around it. I live in Texas, so of course you got to shove the Texas flag in there. There's the square and compass. This is the universal symbol for Freemasonry. Everywhere you go, you're going to see this symbol. Notice how it's got the same overall shape as the assassin symbol. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Now, the Masons' beliefs revolve around freedom of thought and expansion of knowledge. They are a secret society with a hierarchy based on experience. They do weird rituals, and they created their own ciphers to communicate secretly. The Assassin Brotherhood does all of this, and I'm sure they have more in common than I do. Now I want to take a closer look at some hidden messages. This square text here actually isn't a covert search. It's just read from bottom right to top right. Artifacts sent to the skies to control all nations to make us obey a hidden saying, do not open our message to Desmond here. Not trust or serve. This pyramid has the same idea. It reads, they drain my soul and theirs. I drain my body to where I saw it. Yeah, this is our history versus blood. It's the only way they do this. Then you've got your numerical. 13.0.0.0 first to a date on the Mayan farm calendar, December 21st, 2012. This market floater has the same date, 12/21/2021 months on this date. It's very important. There are many more symbols and messages, but okay, here. The crazy thing is, this game came out telling us that these messages we have to avoid. That's it, right? The game does, however, tell us exactly what Abstergo is doing. But again, this is very easy to miss. Remember that access code and that pen left on campus? It unlocks Lucy's emails, and there's a ton of interesting lore stuff here. If you want more, you have to pickpocket with this pen, which I had never done this before. This unlocks his computer, and it reveals to us outside of what happens in Animus that the Templars are looking for pieces of Eden. These powerful artifacts lost to time. And using Desmond's genetic memories of Altair, that leads them to this map, which shows locations of pieces of Eden scattered all over the world. And their plan is to launch a satellite on December 21st, 2012. And they want to stick one of these apples of Eden inside of it so that they can control humanity and enact a new world order. Literally a full-blown reset of the human race. Now let's just pretend for a second that back in 2007, and Assassin's Creed 2 hasn't come out yet. This game right here is a conspiracy-filled fever dream. And that's not even half of it, because if you keep checking Vidic's computer, you'll find the password to open up the conference room. This place that we've only seen through a window. Inside is another computer, which has this absolutely bonkers email from Vidic's boss. We learn about the Philadelphia Project, where they tried to use a piece of Eden to time travel back before World War II to kill Hitler to prevent the war from happening. Sounds like some pretty cool video game stuff, right? This is actually based on a real-life conspiracy theory. This man claimed he saw a U.S. destroyer turn invisible and then teleport from Philadelphia to Virginia and then back again. And to really make himself credible, he sent a copy of this UFO book to the U.S. Navy, and he had its notes and margins supposedly written by aliens. Very normal stuff. Next is the Tunguska incident. Assassins destroyed a Templar facility and set off one of the largest recorded explosions in history. Again, this is based on a real-life event. In 1908, a large explosion happened near the Tunguska River in Russia, and it leveled 830 square miles of forest. Scientists believe that an asteroid exploded upon entering the Earth's atmosphere, and that caused the largest explosion since prehistoric times. This right here is what makes this series so fascinating. It's containing real-life events and conspiracies and weaving them together to create something. It's completely missable, this stuff. I don't know. I hope you guys think this is as cool as I do. And for the final mystery, who's been helping us? It's pretty obvious, but the game explicitly shows you. If you talk to Lucy right when Desmond hops out of the Animus, she makes this gesture. She left the access code. She left the pen on the Animus. She's an assassin, and she's been helping us the entire time. This isn't much of a mystery if you've played the games before, but like I said, at the time, this was lightning in a bottle. You can even find this email of her requesting backup. And the assassin's reply is in this fake spam email. They say, "We'll be there soon." Again, this is so cool to me. Most people who play this game didn't find this. They're not going to find it. So it feels like the developers really reward you for digging into it. When I started working on this video, I thought Assassin's Creed 2 was where all the juicy conspiracies were, but I hope you see now that the original game deserves recognition. We would not have the crazy conspiracies we're about to talk about if not for the foundations laid by the first game.
I love it. Say, Dina, here, more.
Let's go now. Keep up. You've made a sound choice. King George's regulars are the most respected soldiers in the world. Decent pay, with 3 meals a day. Plus, you'll be doing your part.
You are free of this.
Thanks, mister. You've a kind heart. I'm going home. Thank you, thank you.
With the puzzles of Assassin's Creed 2 scared the shit out of me. Even as a 14-year-old, I remember staying up late on school nights and having to stop myself because I couldn't handle it. Even though I was scared, I couldn't resist. The mystery hooked me. I had to do all of the puzzles. I had to know what it was telling me and who left behind. I needed to know the truth. Where the first game feels dark and desperate, Assassin's Creed 2 kicks off like a full-on action movie. Desmond is no longer present. He escapes captivity and teams up with the assassins to stop the Templars. In the coolest warehouse hideout you've ever seen. The series ended up living here as a kid, but it's massive TV and all the natural light pouring in. It's just the coolest. Now this is where the Animus gets fun. Just like the Matrix, Desmond plugs in the machine and soldier skills. Pretty quickly, we find a storehouse symbol in Ezio's movies. It's completely out of place, really non-existent in history. Turns out it's not computer code placed inside of the program by the same person. This is where a mysterious prisoner in the first game is revealed. He calls himself Subject 16. He speaks in feels like fragmented comments. Not like his brain is scrambled. He has evidence that history, as we know it, is locked. The video is locked behind these cliffs. You have to track them down, cross-reference infinitely, and unlock the files to uncover. It's this lifelike conspiracy treasure hunt. It's basically a mix of National Treasure and the Da Vinci Code. If you've been paying close attention, you might recognize these symbols. That's because almost all of them were painted in blood in Assassin's Creed. Those symbols weren't nothing. 16 has been giving us specific clues all along. Unlocking one of the glyphs shows you this. Oh, wait, hold on. Did you miss it? Let's go ahead and play it again. Yeah, that was it. Each clip is like 200 milliseconds long. Naked people running and jumping. What in the world is this? You have no clue what to think until you unlock the full thing. And that's what makes it so brilliant. Each time I came across one of these, it gave me that small drip feed of information, another tiny piece to the overall picture. I can only imagine what I was looking at and what it was trying to tell me. Now, the full truth video is fascinating. In a lot of ways, it leaves you with more questions than answers. The video takes place in BCE. Two figures escape a technologically advanced city from the past. They call each other Adam and Eve. And in their hands is an apple, just like the one we found in Assassin's Creed 1. At the very end, binary code flashes, and it spells Eden. This blew my still-developing teenage mind the first time I saw it. I didn't grow up religious. We didn't go to church, and to be honest, I never read the Bible. But like most people, I knew about Adam and Eve, the Apple of Eden, the fall of man, the original sin. Assassin's Creed takes these core beliefs of Christianity and uses them as the basis for its lore. And when you step back and think about that, it's kind of a wild choice. I'm not sure I would have done that. It makes sense why the game says it was made by a team of people with varying beliefs. It's provocative, and it absolutely captivated me. It felt wrong. This game was going out of its way to offend. Maybe that was just what I thought as a kid, but maybe it was. And I liked that. I liked the feeling that I was playing something that might offend people. This is the kind of stuff that was made for edgy teens like me. Now, of course, we can dive deeper, but I don't really want to talk about the first civilization or the Doomsday Plot in this video, even though I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong, this video is already long enough. We'll do another video. If you guys really like this one, tell me in the comments below, and I'll make it. Well, the truth is, this bombshell reveal, the puzzles are where the conspiracies really shine. Taking real historical events from the not-so-distant past and saying, what if this is really what happened behind the scenes? And it really helps how creepy these are. Just like the first game in the Animus, you have this deep, dark, droning music in the background. Subject 16's voice echoing from within, clearly in pain. And it's all in front of this dark, abstract, moving background. There's also something deeply unsettling about old photographs and paintings. I think it's how they transport us into the past in a way that feels unreal, outside of reality. The sounds, the visuals, everything about this drives home the feeling of secret and conspiracy. The puzzles start simple. Find the apple, show the paintings, take the pieces to line up the picture, but the revelations are massive. Queen Elizabeth, Napoleon, George Washington, the great leaders throughout human history, they all had pieces of Eden. I especially love the choice of Remy in them. This is called the hidden hand gesture that's on this. This was a popular pose for portraits at the time. Of course, Assassin's Creed takes that history and rewrites it to say this is where they were holding the pieces of Eden. Our buddies, the Freemasons, they also use this. The puzzles continue, now using real photographs from history. There's nothing that makes me feel more like I'm uncovering secrets. Black and white photographs and flipping on the infrared. The puzzle turns into this dark room where you're using a scanner to locate this Eden. Franklin Roosevelt had an apple. Mary Queen, Gandhi too. But that's not it. Within these photographs are hidden messages encoded by ciphers left by Subject 16. I really like cryptology. If someone is a crypto-analyst or cryptanalyst, whatever, please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. But get ready, because this is really cool. Let's take a look at this black room.
Some things are worth protecting. Your devices are on. Learn more at internet website Aikido.dev/10pm.
It's the next day.
Now.
What is that? This holiday Masonic cipher, according to historians, the real Knights Templar or Templar and the Freemasons use these ciphers. Now, I tried to solve this puzzle without help. I really did. But I got stuck because the game doesn't give you a key, and without a key, it's impossible. Luckily, if you Google Sonic Cypher AC2, you find this. It's basically a geometric puzzle. Each symbol matches the position of the letters on the key. An arrow pointing down with a dot is G. A square without the left side and a dot is H. One line going up and another to the right with no dot is E. The message reads, the Masons spread across the sea. George Washington passed on, suggesting that the U.S. presidents all had this line. This is so complicated. Most people who play this game would not go out of their way to solve this. It takes a real sicko to spend time figuring this out. Just companies developers that are looking at this stuff in the game. People like you and me to find out. It's just amazing. The next set of photos contain different ciphers. In this picture of France during World War II, we have what's called a hexadecimal cipher. Now, I'm going to be honest, guys, my brain does not work like this. I can do the visual puzzles, but the second you ask me to do math, that's where I draw the line. I gotta check the comments below. I'm sure there's someone smarter than me who can explain this translates to Intera mechanism, which is the known analog in next picture is in South Carolina to the Americans. In this there, big fella. Actually, that is not a Caesar cipher. This is what's called a cipher. And this is how it works. We're given A equals 65. This is the key. If you look at your ASCII chart and find the decimal column, you'll find that 65 equals capital A. So all you have to do is line up the numbers in the puzzle with the chart, and you've found your solution. Fully decoded, the message reads, Ancient City, Rajasthan, India, irradiated by PCB. In real life, this is the site of nuclear testing, which explains the radiation. When making this video, I was very tempted to run through every single truth puzzle and glyph and hidden message. There are already great videos showing all of those on YouTube. I'll link one below by one of my favorite creators, The Hidden One. Instead, we're going to focus on the highlights, the big conspiracies, and how they all link together. Throughout these puzzles, there's a central theme of the artifact's influence on religion, like we talked about before. Basically, explaining the unexplainable. We see Cain and Abel fighting over an apple of Eden just out of frame. We learn that Joseph Smith created Mormonism not from divine inspiration, but from Templar teachings. Jesus found the Shroud of Eden, which he used to perform his miracles. Templars killed him and stole the artifact. And we get to see this in Ezio's story too. Templar Grandmaster Rodrigo Borgia ascends to the papacy and uses the Staff of Eden to control the hearts and minds of men. Again, this stuff fascinating. It also touches on the theory of evolution and the origin of species, where we come from. The Templars were so afraid of the truth and what that revealed that they actually used the to bridge the gap between man. You see this in this disturbing usage of this is the moment so the same conspiracy it wasn't for this is very Joan of Arc starting this so this was a 6 1 line out possible assassination Jackie Kennedy walking the LBJ after the husband was murdered. Got Parker came the 6th Lord and the shooter shot him. There's a reason this is on there all this message. We have written 1 to 2,000 books on this topic. We believe that Oswald is innocent. Either way, he was shot 2 days later by Jack Kennedy. Somebody was in on the conspiracy himself. Others say it was an inside job by the U.S. to get Kennedy out of the way, or a global operation carried out by Russia keep up most of the arguments needed. Multiple shooters.
Yo. Oh man, bro. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
See, there used to be one Hendrix. Now there's another Hendrix too. And
I fucking kid you not, bro.
Prefer a GLP-1 pill that way?
So, I never thought this Steve. I've always been a big guy, but because I noticed how unhealthy I felt when I was bigger, I just wouldn't know. And my friend told me about weight loss.
Hims is now offering the world at 400 FDA approved for weight loss. You can get started for just $39 a month with an active Hims member. Take an online assessment and connect with a licensed provider. Subscription is quite free. Are you ready to see progress? Take an online consultation to get started.
I live 20 minutes away from Dealey Plaza, the place in Dallas, Texas, where JFK was assassinated over 60 years ago. So I decided to go there in person. Dealey Plaza is in downtown Dallas. Here's a view of me driving towards it. Walking up, there's a massive monument dedicated to this event. There are these really old plaques that give detailed descriptions of what happened, plus this map of the motorcade's path and all of the points of interest. The first thing I came across was this explorer of the Texas hospital where the assassin Lee Harvey Oswald fired. It's really cool to see this angle side by side with the photo in the truth puzzle. It makes it feel even more real. This building is a museum now, and I actually took a field trip here in middle school, probably 20 years ago now. I don't remember much about it, but I thought I would appreciate it all the time. Next, I crossed the street and walked over to the grassy knoll, and I took this video, which is really funny to me because a fire truck blared its horn right behind me and scared the shit out of me. When JFK was killed, there were reports of gunfire from this location. Police rushed to this place, and they found nothing. As the first shot was fired, Jerry Mormon took a Polaroid of this location, and her picture has been used to develop a ton of theories. The first one is Badge Man. Apparently, this is a police officer firing a gun. It's really blurry. I don't know. This is going to be the Kool-Aid Man for all I can tell. Another is Umbrella Man, a random guy who opened his umbrella with City Bank. Pretty sure Hideo Kojima named all these guys. Umbrella Man was considered suspicious for several reasons. First off, it was a beautiful day, and he brought an umbrella. Witnesses say he covered the umbrella in a specific, suspicious way right as JFK passed by. And conspiracy theorists say this could have been a signal to the shooter to go ahead and fire. Ultimately, Umbrella Man was never pursued as a suspect. But here's the angle he had, which was a very good view of what happened. In Mary's photo, you can see Abraham Zapruder, who happened to film the assassination. The infamous Zapruder film is the most complete view of what happened. Now, we don't have the rights to show these Zapruder films, so I did the next best thing, which is film from the very same spot. Or at least, I thought I did. I ended up filming from Badge Man's location by accident, because there was this plaque of Zapruder, so I thought this is where he was. But it's okay, because this is still a great view of what happened. This is the path the motorcade took down this road, and JFK was shot right here. X marks the spot. I walked up to that X to take a photo, and it's so strange to memorialize an event like this with an X. It's almost like a treasure map marker was placed there in real life. You can also see the 6th floor from this location. So yeah, just a great angle, a great view of everything that happened. Finally, I want to share a little bit of audio that I recorded while I was there. I'm here at Dealey Plaza by the grassy knoll. You know, I gotta say it's a little bit eerie. I'm really glad I came back here because there is a weird sort of permanence about this place. The X marks the spot where JFK was shot. It's also very weird. There are cars just driving right over it. There's also just a ton of construction going on. So there's a weird sort of squealing going on that, I don't know, it's kind of capturing my imagination. Was that fun? Did you have fun? Okay, back to the game. Unlocking the file reveals the letter which details how and why the Templars assassinated JFK. Finally, we have some real answers. JFK had a piece of Eden, like every president did, and he wanted to do some good stuff with it. He wanted to pass the Civil Rights Act and give everybody the right to vote. Of course, the Templars said, I don't think so. It's not really part of our world domination plans. So they trained 2 assassins, Oswald and the mysterious person, Z. They used other pieces of Eden to create distractions, making a phantom appear on the grassy knoll. And the driver was in on it too. He actually nabbed the Apple of Eden after JFK was killed. I just realized this as I was finalizing the edit. Mystery Person Z is not a mystery. It's obviously Abraham's murder. Of course he was in on it. Absolutely crazy. Just insane. I love it. And the coolest part of this conspiracy is that it keeps going. What were the Templars planning by carrying out this assassination? The answer lies with the Apollo 11 moon landing. And I know what you're thinking. It was fake. The moon landing didn't happen. According to Assassin's Creed, it wasn't fake, but it was a Templar mission. And this photograph of the moon is another Masonic cipher. Using the same key from before.
Those we need to alert. Follow my directions, and we'll be done in no time.
The bottom is O, and the square with an opening on the left, and the dot is H. The full message is Johnson was one of them. The bees drone 2 followed the money.
What are you doing? Get back on the horse, Connor.
Popular one, which is that JFK was assassinated to install LBJ. Of course, in Assassin's Creed, he was a Templar, and so was Buzz Aldrin, the first man to step on the moon. And they did it to recover an Apple of Eden that was on the moon. Just what the fuck? How did
Connor?
Using the scanner,
is everything all right, my friend?
Version, which shows you Templar's insignia on the American flag, and also the Abstergo logo on the lunar lander module. So cool. The next set of conspiracies has to do with the feud between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, which eventually...
Is everything all right, my friend?
That sounds great.
Connor?
Because it is. Tesla found an Apple of Eden in the mountains of Croatia in his youth. He used it to build Wardenclyffe Tower, which was supposed to transmit free information and electricity to anyone in it. Of course, the Templars were having none of that. The Templars never put anything on sale. They definitely don't do free trials. No free. Edison
those we need to alert. Follow
to discredit Tesla in the press, which eventually led to him getting
we'll be
his
done in no time.
for the project pulled. The Templars stole Nikola Tesla's Apple of Eden, and of course did some really terrible things with it. Now in real life, Wardenclyffe Tower existed. Here it is, on Long Island. Tesla tried to build this thing with the same goals in mind, but his experiment failed.
Connor, you're going the
was
wrong way.
being by the inventor of the telegraph, Marconi, and had his funding pulled. Apparently, he also had a nervous breakdown, which led to...
We will never finish in time if we go by foot. We will never finish in time if we go by foot.
They stole from him to mess with his mind. Okay, this is a test. If you've been paying attention, do you remember the Tunguska incident from Assassin's Creed 1? You do. Great. Turns out that was Nikola Tesla. The assassins recruited him to destroy a staff.
Is everything all right, my friend?
To get revenge on the
What are you doing?
And Tesla succeeded and set off that massive explosion, destroying a Templar facility. I just love that they continued with that conspiracy from the first game. Like, did they have that plan the whole time, or did they just find that convenient? It was just really fascinating to find that out. So,
is everything all right?
Tesla's piece of Eden. Of nothing, just a massive plot to start with.
We will never finish in time if we go by foot.
The world knows Thomas Edison as an inventor of the electric light bulb. But it's actually an elephant torture. In this video, an elephant being electrocuted is disturbing. It's perfect for the truth coil puzzles. The game suggests that Edison staged this.
Get back on the horse, Connor.
AC currents.
We will never finish in time if we go by foot.
Rutgers University, like we're talking about real life right now. Top secret elephant was sentenced to death for being, quote, a bad elephant. How can any elephant be a bad elephant? Oh, he killed a man. Oh, and then she got loose on Coney Island, so they decided to electrocute her. Well, I guess it's better than being hanged. The truth is, Edison's film company was hired to...
Yes, this is exactly where we need to be.
But Edison himself was never involved. Or, I don't know, I think it's more fun to think of Edison as a supervillain.
Yes, this is it. This is the way.
Speaking of supervillains, this is where Henry Ford comes into the picture. After shutting down Nikola Tesla and stealing his Apple, Edison gave that Apple to Henry Ford, and he used it to trick his workers into thinking that they were getting a pay raise.
Connor?
It's very cool. And he was done with it, he sent the piece of Eden to H. When Heartburn hits, reach for Tom's then.
This way, Connor!
What's the average cost of a phone bill per month?
Yes! This is it! This is the way!
Most people are paying way more for wireless than they
Yes, this is exactly...
Each of these marbles is going to be worth $10. Green's going to represent Mint Mobile, the red's going to represent other carriers. Mint Mobile says choose any plan, 3 month, 6 month, or a full year for $15 a month. 3-month phone plan. Other carriers, Mint Mobile, 6-month phone plan, and other carriers not as much. This is what you're paying. It's a full year. Other carriers, Mint Mobile, forever. It's kind of like that.
Five seconds. Yes. Go ahead. Pause the video. Comment below. Okay, back. Henry Ford was a known anti-Semite, not in Assassin's Creed, but in real life. He bought his own paper and distributed a manifesto called the International the world's foremost problem. He blamed the Jews for all of America's problems, and he required every Ford dealership.
I'll guide you towards those we need to alert. Follow my directions, and we'll be done in no time. Go left up here.
Praised Henry Ford. He called him an inspiration. Hitler
Yes, this is it. This is the way.
In Germany to fuel hatred and gather support.
This is it. This is the way.
How did I not know this?
I believe we are on course.
But I don't think a lot of people know this. You know?
Keep going.
Is that the Ford Motor Company is still very powerful. I would not be surprised if they went out of their way to hide this industry.
What are they
I'm
doing
sure they
here?
would spend any amount of money to not associate Ford with the Holocaust.
They must be
That's
scouts.
my conspiracy brain talking, but it makes
Be
sense.
careful,
And
Connor.
Rockstar
We mustn't let them warn the
Assassin's
others.
Creed takes this real history and goes a step further. Ford sent his piece of Eden to Hitler so that he would start World War II. The plan was for Hitler to purge Europe of Jews, drop an atom bomb, and birth a new world order, a reset of humanity for them to control. Abstergo, they were in charge of the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer
Might be safer if we approach
that
the houses on foot.
atom bomb, but he didn't know who he was working for. History tells us that Hitler killed himself in his bunker in the final days of World War II. But there have always been conspiracies. The most popular one is that he executed a body double and then fled to South America. There are some reported sightings of people being like, yeah, I saw Hitler, he was there. When I was researching for this video, I came across this image the U.S. Secret Service used to imagine Hitler's disguises. It's pretty cool. In reality, we found that remains of Hitler in the bunker. He did die there. Sorry, conspiracy theorists. Go with that. So the game takes that conspiracy and runs with Hitler, who's Hitler in his body, and deliver that piece of Eden to another mystery person called C. When his plans were thwarted, the assassins struck him as he left the bunker and took the piece of Eden to his Winston fucking Churchill. I know Churchill is a controversial figure, but it wasn't exactly like this. And that is the deep, dark conspiracies, the hidden history of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. I hope you guys had as much fun watching this video as I had making it. I think this is a core part of why I love Assassin's Creed. The stuff had so much power, so much energy behind it. It was fun. It was absolutely batshit crazy, obviously, but I think it plays on the emotions of things that we deal with today. A story about a secret order of rich, power-hungry people seeking to control the masses and do some really evil shit. I don't know. That feels more relevant to me than ever. Anyways, thank you guys for being patient. Really proud of this video. I hope you can tell. I feel like I've learned so much, and I've gained a new appreciation for a series that I, really loved already. But it's fun to make videos like this and watching now. I feel like I've been to a time. And yeah. you guys thought. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to play for free now on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile using my links in the pinned comment and description below. New returning players who haven't played in 6 months on PC and console will also get a massive bonus pack, including multiple premium vehicles and exclusive vehicle decorator. This bonus is available for a limited time, so don't miss it. Also, let me know if you want to see another video on the conspiracies of Brotherhood, Revelations, and AC3, the Doomsday, that stuff. You know, the end of Desmond's story, because, yeah, the story does continue.
This is it. You have got the right place.
So I would love to talk about it more. It might be a bit, because I've got about a month and a half of content already planned out, but we'll get there, and if you guys want to see it, I'm going to make it. Also, check out my last video. I was proud of that one too. Definitely shorter and, you know, dedicated ads, some different...
Yes, this is exactly where we need to be.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
I believe we are on course. I believe we are on course. Quick, hide.
Look at this. Look at how much junk mail I get. I mean, credit card offer, honestly, I don't even know which one these cards is. It is
I believe we are on course.
They should be credit cards. Actually, I just want to write cards like balance transfers around. I also cash back.
Yes, this is it. This is the way.
That I want. And let's be so for real, who reads their mail anyway? So
to the left corner.
Experience.
We should dismount first. Be quicker and quiet. This is it. You have got the right place. I believe we are on course. Go right, Connor. To the left, Connor. To the right, Connor. To the right.
The more popular theories are located at the top of the iceberg.
Keep going!
Traveling deeper below the iceberg.
Might be safer if we approach the houses on foot.
And perhaps even outlandish the mysteries we cover. Today we'll be attempting to sink our teeth into a complete
This is it. You have got the
covering
right place.
many aspects of the franchise. We'll actually be discussing my favourite points from 3 icebergs that have been done in the incident. The earliest iceberg under our gaze today is
Faster! We need to get away from them.
This iceberg threats limits H.M.'s iceberg mysteries. It's different than the name of my attention.
Find a way to get rid of them, Connor.
It's the largest. Creates a lot of confidence for continuing massive together layers. Now, the layers are the size of the
Find a way to get rid of them, Connor.
It's not one of the most intriguing. So there's an elevation of mysteries. This time says,
Find a way to get rid of them, Connor.
Sorry, bloodline dimension. And that's retroactive continuity.
That was much too close for comfort. Let us take care to avoid any further surprises. This way, Connor!
Previous information that was once deemed as true is
to the right, Connor! To the right!
Next avenues to be explored. Assassin's Creed, unfortunately for our sake, is no stranger to replicas. One of the most notable examples of this
Fucking kidding me, bro.
In the original Assassin's Creed,
Niggas wasted mad fucking time going on these fucking circles.
Excellent! We are right on
Years
course!
1189 and 1192.
Yes! This is it! This is the way!
Excellent!
We are right on course!
Next generation console.
Might be safer if we approach the houses on foot.
Action-adventure genre. Directed Patrice Desolé said that it was difficult to incorporate a prince into the game. A prince is not an action character per se. He's somebody who waits for a mummy or daddy to tie his hand.
This is it! You have got the right place!
So I switched the organisation of the kingdom to an assassin brotherhood. So if you're the number 2, were the assassin of the Greeks. And since the assassins were in Persia, roughly put, that would be the Prince of Persia. That's how the whole concept of Assassin's Creed started. So the design of Assassin's Creed evolved, but still maintained its roots to the Prince of Persia. It was heavily inspired by the Persian book Al-Nut, written by Vladimir Barton. This book described the historical order of the assassins. Living in the mountains of Persia and Syria around the 12th century, they assassinated Muslim and Christian leaders who were considered enemies of the state.
Welcome to Lexington, Connor. Now let's learn how to talk it out.
The term assassination stems from. The original assassins
No
were
sign of
pretty
dog.
relatively true to this
I hope
inspired
he's
story.
all right.
With Desolé even stating that Altair is the Prince of Persia. Well, once we get to Assassin's Creed 2, we can uncover 60 tombs built by members of the Italian Brotherhood. These tombs were dedicated to 6 of the first assassins. Leonius, who assassinated Caligula. Iltini, who assassinated Alexander the Great. Arminets, who assassinated Cleopatra. Wei Yu, who assassinated Qin Shi Huang. Darius, who assassinated Xerxes I, and Kulan Gal, who assassinated Genghis Khan. Many of these assassinations occurred before the Persians' 11th century origins, so it seems like the assassin's history has been retconned. However, Max Speed Go 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 explains the assassin's history could be interpreted as all of the proto-assassins tracing their roots to his Altair, the true spreader of the assassin's order. Altair's personal journal, his codex, states that he believes that we, the assassins, have simply rediscovered an order that predates the old man himself. The Observer Files and Revelations state that officially, the Order of the Knights Templar was created in 1129, but we have endured, under various appellations, since well before the 12th century. We were there when Cleopatra claimed her birthright, when Alexander the Great forged his empire, and when Xerxes sent his armies to crush the Greeks. Like the Order of the Knights Templar, the assassins became public during the Middle Ages. Also, like us, the Brotherhood has existed under one form or another since perhaps the dawn of humanity, and their operations span the entire globe. So technically we could argue that no retcon has actually happened here, but what we should take as lesson of this is that even now, we might not know the full pictures of many of these theories, and in the present, we could be misled, with chapters still unwritten changing the story. This means that theories and the facts that we say in this iceberg could in turn become completely false, remain a mystery, or perhaps reveal itself to be the truth. But the more mature the Assassin's Creed story becomes, the less retcons should be taking place. So perhaps we're safer now than what we would be a decade ago. So we've kind of cheated and talked about a couple of points in this iceberg, but we said Sky Layer was just to equip ourselves. And now I think we're finally ready to take the leap of faith down below, into the depths of the Assassin's Creed iceberg. Giant Squid. The Assassin's Creed games, especially Valhalla, are full of mythology and hidden Easter eggs, and one of the most ominous Easter eggs is that of a giant squid. In Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio can see a giant squid while underground in the Assassin's tombs, located in Santa Maria. And in Black Flag, Edward Kenway witnessed a giant squid consuming an entire white whale. It's peculiar that something as prominent as a giant squid would appear in the Assassin's Creed universe multiple times, each time as a hidden Easter egg. The presence of a giant squid makes more sense in Black Flag, with many pirates telling stories of a large monster, the Kraken, hunting the sea and harassing vessels. Danish author Eric Padopadan popularised the term Kraken in 1753, only slightly after the events of Black Flag, and he described the Kraken as a giant sea crab or an octopus. For a squid to appear in the tomb, that seems a bit out of place. It's most likely a reference to H.P. Lovecraft, with the Kraken being a great old one. Assassin's Creed is no stranger to Lovecraft references, with Syndicate containing the great old monster race, a set of brass knuckles containing small knobs along its outside to resemble a tentacle. Perhaps the stage will be able to one day reveal the full extent of the Lovecraft's influence. A sage, first mentioned in Black Flag, is an extraordinary human, being a representation of Aeta, an Isu scientist and a husband of Juno. The Isu were the first civilization, those that came before and created humanity. Aita transferred his consciousness into an artificial body in an attempt to save the Isu from the foretold destruction of the world. But his experiment failed, with Aita's mind becoming brittle, and him becoming a prisoner of his own body. In an attempt to save him, Juno, along with Odin, acquired the need of poetry, creating a serum that was used to embed her husband into the human bloodline. This feed serum would randomly activate an alternate genetic makeup of an individual, changing their appearance and flooding them with memories of Aita, marking them as a sage. This was often very traumatic for the human host. Many sages succumbed to madness as their own memories in life were slowly consumed by those who Aita. Originally, many assumed that because sages were essentially a reborn Aita, there was only destined to be one sage alive at any point in time. But as we now know, this is not the case. Multiple sages can often be alive at once. The Parabathamuni-Rumus was a sage who was ultimately chased by the Templars.
I was born with memories of this place. Memories of another time entirely, I think. Like another life I were in.
But also alive at the same time was Thomas Kainar Jr., who was also a sage, writing many letters regarding his condition. In Murdoch's Ratchet, suggests that rather than sages being reincarnations of Aita, the sages are just inheriting the genetic memory that have been activated within themselves. This can be viewed as being similar to the bleeding effect that many get while using the animals. It's worth noting that some sages like Thomas seem to be able to resist the allure of Aita, while others like Bartholomew appear to be completely consumed by it. And these two are the only sages mentioned throughout Assassin's Creed. Some notable sages include Elijah, Desmond Miles' son, whose life is explored in the comics, and one particular individual found in the Abstergo database entry in Unity. This entry details a list of potential sages. A man called David Jones marks supposedly being a sage, said to be otherworldly, extraterrestrial, and beset by multiple personalities. This is a reference to David Robert Jones, who's more commonly known as David Bowie. David Bowie adopted many personas, with the other lines being references to songs, like Loving the Alien, which does coincidentally mention Templars. So David Bowie could be a sage in the Assassin's Creed universe, but I don't think we'll see anything else about him other than this database entry regarding him. There's one individual that's not mentioned in this database of potential sages, but has been regarded by many to be a sage. And that's the Old Man of the Mountain, Almor Lim. Almor Lim oversaw and coordinated the actions of the Levantine Brotherhood of Assassin's Order. The Assassin's Creed infographics, which explores the amazing history of the Assassin's Creed universe, details the history of the Apples of Eden. The second apple, the Apple of Eden that was reactivated by fire, was in the possession of Almor Lim, who was the old sage and mentor of the Assassins. Now, is this a reference that Almor Lim is directly a sage? Well, not convincingly. Darkspine 10 believes that this mentioning of sage is just in reference to being prevented lies, as written sage of the Assassins, rather than the Assassin's sage. Almor Lim was introduced in the first Assassin's Creed, while sages were introduced in Black Flag. So you do have to ponder if the concept of the sage was to be introduced in the first Assassin's Creed, if Almor Lim would have turned out to be one. The infographics did state that Almor Lim was being a sage with a translation, and this would infer that they are talking about the title of sage, rather than it being himself. Most sages in Assassin's Creed possess one distinctly identifying trait, heterochromia, which is primarily the colour difference in eyes, but can also be found in hair or skin. Almor Lim has one brown eye, with the other missing, but this is most likely just a result of his blind eye. Or perhaps it was just planning a future that was yet uncertain. He does have the personality traits of a sage, portray others for his own personal gain, and he wields the Apple of Eden very naturally, which suggests he at least has a strong amount of Isu DNA, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he is a sage. Almor Lim does say something interesting when faced by Altair. I have stood before 1,000 men, all of them superior to you, and many of them dead. Initially, you would take 1,000 men as being a brand, but perhaps it is in fact literal. If Almor Lim was a sage, perhaps the combined memory of Aita and himself actually did face 1,000 men. I think that initially Almor Lim would have not been a sage, with the concepts not mature enough until at least but I think if you were someone to look back at this era, they would more than likely categorise Almor Lim as a sage. But now, let's get our diving bells ready to It is time for us to explore the murky depths of this iceberg. Desmond lives. Desmond Miles, the protagonist of the original saga, had initially been forced to relive memories from the modern-day company of the Order of Sergo. He's later reunited with the assassin and learns to gain the skill possesses with relieving their past memories of the years. When the Isu warns Desmond of the city disaster of 2012, he has revenge threatening to wipe out most of humankind. Desmond then sets out to locate the Isu's Grand Temple before it's contained inside, said to be able to prevent this tragedy. Then the mystical device would end up saving the world at a cost, but also ending his life. Desmond could either activate the device, save their planets, without perishing, and in turn release their evil Isu channel, or he could refrain from activating the device. And when the world would randomly be destroyed, many humans will still survive, and see Desmond as the leader, a religious figure who will rebuild the world. But upon his death, his words would cause the vision of war, thus repeating the cycle of human civilization. Desmond chooses to activate the device, saving the world, but not himself.
Everyone
run! Active martyrdom didn't lose a song in the history books, at least for the players of his
The red coats are taken captive.
Then he chose not to believe that Desmond was dead, even when the post-mortem report of the Black Flag detailing Desmond's dissection by Sergo. Altair, the president, wrote that theory that Desmond Miles is not only alive and well, but he's also been managing to launch cyber attacks against the forces of Sergo. In Unity, the assassin intel database 16 did out one of the most well-coordinated attempts to exterminate databases. This was but then Lotus was managing to recover the equipment that was brought by Sergo when they were collecting Desmond's body. This fact was hard to explain. It's almost as if it was two parts of the same equipment, one on the inside and one on the outside, just sort of tweaked up and come to life, so to speak. While this was certainly Jupiter, Altair and Precedent lose the
Blood's been spilled in the...
The attack was described as being similar to Clay Kasparov's case about a year ago, but possible on a far greater scale. Clay Kasparov, subject before Desmond, subject 16, and artificial construct solvents of the animals.
Prepare yourself. Go!
Desmond was 17, Clay's successor, so much as not the version of Clay. So it would be true that Desmond was like Clay, certainly didn't version.
Shoot!
How long enough though to establish those servers? And what was it? Still alive and possibly keep the temples alive. The chatbot repeatedly mentioned number 17. I'm amazing at 1700 to learn more. 17 separate servers could apply simultaneously.
Hold fire now!
Attacks, rather than one attack on 17 targets. The equivalent of small play putting 17 separate chess games in the space of a few seconds. 17 was mentioned multiple times. The set number of games definitely was playable. One, strategy, revelations, and 2.5. During this attack, the individual responsible for this was taken in.
Prepare yourself.
Fire now!
Wait for my signal. Fire now!
These numbers could have been supported as Apologies in fact still alive. Fast forwarding to the events of Valhalla, it's been revealed that Desmond is indeed still alive. Having spent 8 years in the official arc,
open fire.
The man's looking reader, upgrading all possible future timelines to yet again try and
hold fire. Go!
The game of the reader is to the minds. Its sacrifice is tested.
Prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves. Shoot!
So where these chapters left in unison,
hold fire! Go!
So Desmond finally named his question for rain. While Desmond is still very impressive with the animals, the set can't confidently be said about Clay. It's three revelations.
Make ready!
Go! If Clay helps Desmond escape, the consequently has
prepare yourselves. Fire!
Come with me.
Prepare yourself.
Go! The interpreter face value. The Clay was saving Desmond's life. Perhaps
hold fire!
It was Clay who went back saving Desmond's life.
Make ready. Go!
years. All we saw players who sacrificed.
Wait for the signal. Go. Wait for the signal. Shoot.
Breaks the programming of genetic weapons beginning to appear.
Prepare yourself.
Puzzles concealed by play containing information that involves fire. Upon finding and solving the concealed puzzles not revealed,
wait for my signal.
His name was heard. I am alive.
Shoot.
The island is achieved. Number 16.
Wait for the shoot.
Sending us a message that he is also still alive.
Prepare yourself.
Fire! With the introduction of the animals and later death, and the next game, Revelations. But the trailer for Revelation might have a different answer. In this trailer, there were many hidden messages, with the computer containing messages coming from Source 16. Subject 16, holding the message that can be decoded from basic.
Wait for my signal.
Saying, I am alive. 0808.
Fire now!
So maybe the I am alive.
Wait for the signal. Wait for my signal.
Originally planned was perhaps
fire!
The world. Changing their minds.
Prepare yourself.
Ideas is a great science.
Wait for my signal.
In a modern world, highly advanced
shoot.
computers are still spoken with that. Manipulating the as a start.
Hold fire!
Task 8
wait for my shoot. Hold fire! Shoot! Hold fire now!
Let's for a shell as we
wait for my signal.
Where you find a file, it's a download by a watchdog security company. Advertised their communication and security products. Very
prepare yourself. Go!
During the event's origins, things become much clearer. CCTV
wait for my signal. Hold fire!
Strange resemblance to our original watchdogs attack.
Fire now!
Still definitively mentioned, seemed never to be these two events.
Hold fire!
Any wonder as to whether watchdogs are such a degree, they do exist in the same universe. Although many of these are links to the case, Edison's great content and Mars instructions say that there is no multiverse. A sort of great
hold fire! Open fire!
There's nothing more than history. I'm sure that many
make ready. Go!
He gave explanation for why these things are actually occurred.
Wait for my fire!
Potentially the same can be said for watchdogs.
Prepare yourself.
Shoot! Okay. With this ocean,
wait for my open fire.
Perhaps even an obsession. So much so,
waiting for the signal.
The CEO with the same methods as video game art. Now let's
wait for my open fire.
Explore the unknown of
hold fire.
Reality is simulation.
Wait for the signal.
Go. In the mind of many such direct players is one very reminiscent of Matrix.
Make ready.
Fire. A simulation of all those times. A hidden question. Yes.
Wait for my go.
What is not the animals? Simply a simulation. The modern day. Just
wait for the signal.
Fire. These thoughts have only cost clouded with origins of honesty.
Prepare yourself.
Fire now. So long look at these questions. And easier to leave here.
Prepare yourself.
So they ended up questioning that.
Prepare yourself. Go!
Fall back! Fall back! Fast around. What does that make you real? Your enemies and we defeat bread. Does that make that for real? The confusion more with the use of my words. Does it make you real? Well, the reality is what you thought it was. This was all a construction. I
masterfully crafted simulation. You know such things exist. You've been in the animus before. In fact, you've been right now. You know just how real a simulation can feel, even when it has long vanished. You've experienced the leading effect. We're in this long language to reality. Each
For the support of the glorious cause, I beg they will accept my most cordial thanks for this distinguished testimony of their approbation. But lest some unlucky event should happen, unfavorable to my reputation, I beg it may be remembered by every gentleman in the room that I, this day, declare with utmost sincerity, I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with.
Truly, there is no man better suited to the task.
Really? Congress that
I can think of several.
consideration could have
Charles
me
Lee.
to have accepted this arduous employment at the
Do I
expense
know
of my
you?
domestic ease
I would not
and
expect
happiness.
you to remember.
Come, Connor, there's someone I want you to meet. I will keep an exact account of my expenses.
Sorry to pull you away
Those
like
I
that,
doubt
but
not they
the
will
last thing
discharge,
we need
and
is
that
the
is
two
all
of
I
you
desire.
coming to blows. Connor, allow me to introduce you to our newly appointed Commander-in-Chief, George Washington.
Ah, so you're the one who saved Sam and John at Lexington.
It was the Patriots who did that. I merely lent support.
As humble as he is brave.
And realizing that we are in simulation. In this theory, the East were proposed to have discovered the entire world we live in is a simulation, but they were utterly helpless in escaping. Through many attempts, they used Desmond to try and break the simulation source code and save the Earth. And then later used Layla to try and break the code.
Still here, are you?
For both humans and themselves.
I was just
The
wondering,
universe being a simulation
what happens
would help
now?
explain how the animus work with DNA. With instead of the DNA holding memories of the past, it's in fact code, being refactored over generations, while still containing the legacy of its past. When we see both Desmond and Layla in the supposed real world, when they are close to death, we see the same screen-tearing distortion effect as to those inside the simulation. And if we delve into the Uprising comics, Charlotte Dela Cruz is constantly surrounded with the idea that nothing is real, with Charlotte herself left questioning whether her life could just be a simulation from some one generation in her future. The Grey, a virtual existence in some kind of spiritual to hybrid afterlife, contains digital remains of those who have fallen, and a simulation would explain this well, as it's just flipping the code. But I'm not really that keen on the simulation theory. If the modern reality was indeed the simulation, then it would suggest there's some greater force than that is when the humans play, using the universe as we know it as their own playground. And not only do I feel like this trope has been overused in many different stories before, I feel like we've cheapened a lot of the experiences that we have in Assassin's Creed. All the choices that we've had to make throughout the game would, in the end, be pointless, as the simulation would just be reset. So I don't think and hope that this theory is going to be true. Or perhaps it's just a theory sidetracked by Ubisoft, with they themselves being the true orchestrator of all simulations. That would be some Ubisoft. Via is Desmond's ancestor. Desmond Miles was a man cultivated by the assassins, being the combination of many different lines of assassins. An email chain of Black Flag reveals that Desmond, Subject 17, has rich heritage. On his paternal side was an Altair, master assassin during the Holy Crusade. Paternally, he was a descendant of Ezio, a master assassin during the Italian Renaissance. We know that Desmond is descendant to them, as for him to access their memories through the animals, he must be related to them, but they were not restored in the DNA of their descendants. Desmond, Altair, and Ezio also share the same skull, or an heir to their link. Desmond also has a child, the Syndicate mentioning that he unknowingly conceived a child called Elijah. We can see an older form of Elijah in the Uprising comics, also bearing this same scar. He sees that scars are a major motive to convey the relation between these individuals. His leader, along with the persecution assassins, persevering individuals. These members were even scared of being better, which meant that Axis members no longer needed the user to be blocked later. They could just bring in any members through an individual standing member. And later consistent members through the discovery of Bayek's mother. So there's no real proof that Bayek's ancestors were related. But if we take a close look at Bayek, we yet again see this same scarring. Upon Upon seeing this, many like Sorosis began theorizing that Bayek was related to Desmond, with leaks even suggesting that Bayek was a direct ancestor of Altair. Patrick Ismail posted a Q&A on Twitter where he denied that Altair and Bayek were related, which you would think would put this theory to bed. But Ashraf did not actually respond to the question whether Desmond and Bayek were related. This means that Bayek could still indeed be Desmond's ancestor. Like how Ezio and Altair are not related to each other, they're both ancestors of Desmond. The email chain discussing Desmond's heritage does state that in the matrilineal line from the 13th century, Desmond did have ancestors from Egypt and Northern Africa. Bayek, being from 85 BC, would have been an ancestor of this line. Although Bayek was only known to have one son, Kenway, who tragically died before he himself would have children. The son of Jackal. Edward Kenway was a farmer who saw riches, fame, and his humble background would not provide. He set out to make his fortune as a privateer in the West Indies. But by 1713, the Treaty of Utrecht was signed, with major naval empires stalemating their line of war. Because of this treaty, British privateers were no longer needed in the West Indies, resulting in Kenway turning to pirateering, and later upon encountering the Templars and assassins as well. The British Kenway captain, the Jackdaw, terrorized the Caribbean, single-handedly destroying many ships of which the Jackdaw was Harrison, as well as destroying the naval force that was scattered around the Caribbean. But during the event of Freedom Cry, the once mighty Jackdaw could be found wrecked, resting at the depths of the seas. How could such a formidable, perceivably invincible ship become just another number to the Sea Force collection? Well, there is no clear explanation in the game, which leaves a theory as to why the Jackdaw sunk up to interpretation. Fizzy believes the Jackdaw was finally bested in a naval battle, being overcome by the sheer mass of enemy ships. The sea where the Jackdaw was resting is large enough to hold a multitude of ships, but I don't think that this theory is that likely, as there are no other shipwrecks present, and you presume that the Jackdaw wouldn't have gone down without fights. Paul Minster valiantly hopes perhaps the wreck we see is not the Jackdaw, but an imposter ship carrying the Jackdaw's figurehead and nameplate to strike fear into opposing ships. The Kenway Manor Syndicate does still hold the wheel of the Jackdaw. So parts of the ship were either preserved in the manor or brought back to the Caribbean. But thanks to JCD, that theory is pretty much all but denied. Not content on letting the mystery rest, JCD reached out on Twitter to the leader writer of Black Flag, Doug McDevitt, asking if it would ever be revealed as to how Jackdaw would be destroyed. McDevitt said that internally they decided that Kenway donated to the Brotherhood when he returned to London at the conclusion of the Black Flag. So who was on it when it sank? Maybe it was an incompetent assassin who was easily outskilled by other ships. Or maybe the ship became a victim of a deadly storm. The Jackdaw sunk sometime between 1723 and 1735, and there were many hurricanes during this time over the Atlantic, with many ships being destroyed. Perhaps the Jackdaw could have been one of them. But the theory that I like the most is one raised by Raphael MT. It's just that Kenway, or the assassins in charge of the ship at the time, scuttled their own ship in order to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. And by 1735, the golden age of piracy was coming to an end. The British had vastly grown their navy and hunted down pirates with increased intensity and frequency. Many pirates were hung, or blew themselves and their ships up to the mercy of the waters to avoid capture. Perhaps this was the fate of the sunken Jackdaw. Who knows? Maybe a sequel to Black Flag will reveal this mystery and allow us to ride the Jackdaw once again. Deeper still, where things may not be as they appear, let's finally explore the mirage. Disappearance at Davenport Homestead. Founded in 1746, the Colonial Brotherhood of the Assassins, orchestrating the American Assassin's Order, was a brotherhood whose influence grew and waned throughout history. They were most notable for Desmond Miles saving the Earth from a second global disaster, with the group then being known as the American Brotherhood of the Assassins. Achilles Davenport established the brotherhood, setting up headquarters at the Davenport Homestead. It grew to the size of a small town, being a collection of homes, farms, taverns, and a church. Sometime during the 7 Years' War, the Templars attacked the homestead, greatly diminishing the strength of the assassins, with them suffering heavy casualties. Achilles remained in isolation at the homestead, with it falling into rapid ruin, until the arrival of the later Dutch Connor, who helped bring the homestead to an even greater stature than its previous glory. For decades, the homestead was once again as glory as itself, until sometime in the 19th century, the homestead vanished. Any manor that can suddenly vanish is both interesting and unsettling in the same measure, though probably not a great investment. If anything, the strange spirit of that world homestead deserves at least our detective minds in this. How could basically a whole town seem to disappear from existence? Only a faint mention of experience appearing in the annals, and probably greater than none left to tell the tale. While the glorious ahead would simply be Ubisoft smoothing over potential potholes, it never satisfies one little brain. Bruno HM thinks perhaps Templar who deserved the homestead to destroy the Assassins again, but this time they burst to the ground and destroyed every single record.
I'll burn that homestead goes to the ground and roast the 7 heads of your precious bounding partners in its place.
Or maybe the Assassins escaped and destroyed any evidence to cover their tracks. Rick Hole goes further and specifically blames Shane Foreman, a former Assassin's turned Templar, who was shocked by the length of destruction that killers would go before his survival was ended, inadvertently killing many innocent lives. Shane knew the location of the homestead, so perhaps he or his children, now really indoctrinated into the Templar beliefs, would have destroyed the homestead, or posed enough of a threat to cause the Assassins to demolish their manor, removing any trace of themselves and fleeing away. Assassin's Creed often predicts events that happen in real life, but there aren't any manner or qualities of appearance indicating America. And that's exactly what the Roanoke story. We see this established by Sir Walter Raleigh, aimed at being the first permanent English settlement in America. Dylan would share symbolic connections to Roanoke culture, as it was also the first permanent settlement. Roanoke seems to have mysteriously vanished. The governor of Roanoke colony, John White, returned to England to collect more supplies in 1587, leaving his wife, daughter, and granddaughter at the colony. However, when White returned to the colony in 1590, his family, along with hundreds of other inhabitants, had also vanished. Leaves no trace of any of them in the now abandoned colony. For many centuries, not much was known about the outbreak of colonists. The only clue left behind being the cryptic word, Croatoan, now carved into a wooden fence. It was initially surmised that colonists relocated to the nearby Croatoan Islands. They either killed the hostile Native American village, who massacred them, or they shared the to sea. But later, two separate research groups found fragments of weapons, indicating a small group of colonists who resided peacefully around the It's even been thought that the colony relocated in land, with Houston as being a colonial function on that area.
Yeah, man.
Almost all of the series before. Archaeologist Mark Walton found artifacts of both Native American and European origin in layers of dirt that appear to date back to the late 1500s, coming to the conclusion that they assimilated the Native Americans, but kept their goods. Maybe this will end up being echoed in the Assassin's Creed universe as well. Potentially a Connor's story is revisited. But in truth, not much is even known about Connor after the events of Assassin's Creed 3. In Black Flag, when Abstergo recovered Desmond's body, they uploaded Connor's memories to their service. But after viewing the recordings, they chose not to make any points about it. In the Unity handbook, it was revealed that Connor married and had children, but they later separated, with both his wife and children being alone for a time of his life.
Yeah, man.
The CCO of Abstergo Entertainment also mentioned in an email found in Rome the events of Connor's wife and the way he died. Similar events. But the comic Assassin's Creed Reflections later reveals this was all just propaganda which Abstergo had spread Connor, and the truth is a polar opposite. So maybe, like Jack Ward proposed, the Abstergo team went further than just a small dose of misinformation for Connor, and set about raising a those legacy, and removing down Paul's homestead was one small step of their plan. Why? Well, maybe that will be revealed in the future. What is the program? Throughout the Assassin's Creed franchise, there have been many puzzles and hidden messages left throughout the Animus and other materials. Most of these have been cracked, with tidbits of information being revealed to help piece together the Assassin's Creed story. But this one coded mystery in Assassin's Creed is still yet to be solved. George Washington's cryptogram. Along with the latest version of Script 3 comes a notebook, resembling a diary written by George Washington. This contains many artworks, along with the details of Washington's during the assistant's reign life. Hidden away in this notebook are secret pages, which can be opened using a knife or a letter opener. Many of these hidden pages just detail Washington's knowledge of Connor's movement, but on some of these pages lie a coded message. The first secret page is a journal entry by Washington, detailing the method of conveying secret messages. A safe method for a coded message is written using a reference text that both the sender and the receiver of the letter have in possession. For example, the text about a cyclone is enough to decipher the coded message on the page. This coded message is a ring containing a series of numbers, both inside and outside of the ring. Its message in entirety still remains cloudy as to what it meant. Adjacent to this is the Eye of Providence, which appears on a $1 bill alongside George Washington. The text about Sunlight is as follows. Fergus Sun is a plant from the Orients. This bulb grows in June and produces a flower that sprouts 3 elongated stigmas. The flowers are harvested by hands. Once the roots is separated from the stigmas dry, the latter are turned into a powder or baked velvet. It allows for much freedom of use in cooking, and as much in demand as a spice or colorant that can be employed in this preparation. Iceberg Creator and dedicated assistants Grace Silver, I'm posting the one, tried their hardest to uncover this page's mysteries, but could not fully solve it. Here is as much as we've been able to find so far. The Washington Journal was released in 3 languages, English, French, and German. In each of these versions, the inner ring was the only ring to have changed. Joseph Capelli managed to decipher the inner ring of the French version by interpreting each code to represent a word. The first digit in the code representing the line of the digits, which is where the word situated on the line. Upon decryption, this inner circle revealed the message. The liberté et un plant qui produit une fois qu'elle a pu réussir. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. This is a quote from George Washington himself. Going back to the English version, it seems number 85, which is the same as the French versions, was accidentally unchanged, and its number should have been 39. If that is used, and we decipher the message with Capelli's method, the phrase, bringing this plant that grows quickly once it has taken much root form, is discovered, which is a loose translation of the same phrase. But this method we have just used seems to decipher only the inner circle. The outer circle contains numbers that start with 0. So they instantly break our method, along with the knowledge that all 3 translations contain the same projected rings. So what could the message hidden in these rings be, and how can we solve it? Many now believe that these rings are just red herrings. The numbers spread, which discards a real message held within. The spread out elegantly pulls like the system sometimes,
Yeah, man.
and not the 3 stigmas held above, which can translate to the inner circle by repeating proportions. The eye states the 3 elongated stigmas, the latter are turned to powder and green velvet. So maybe the 3 stigmas, the 3 outer rings, are important, with maybe the inner ring, the roots, being the key to revealing what these are, where the true value of the message lies. This code is the same in all translations, so if this was actually the code, it would surely be a universally accessed key. The iron properties on the page adjacent haven't had any meaning in it, so maybe it's needed to be used in conjunction with this code. It could be a reference to the $1 bill, with starting 86A proposing that the outer text would be in a language like Latin, meaning it will be the same.
Hold and state your business!
An external key, but I am torn as to whether this outer ring actually could be the code.
I'm looking for Israel Putnam.
On whose keys this is the disciplinary. The lack of difference between the translations, along with George Washington's phrasing of this text about suffering is enough to decipher the coded message, not messages, does suggest there is indeed only one code per page.
This is not Bunker Hill.
Aye, it's Briggs. There's been some disagreement as to where we should encamp.
Any news from Boston?
The Tories aren't moving, and any time we try to press them, we lose a dozen men. I think Putnam and the others plan to assemble artillery on these hills. A good shelling might make the Redcoats rethink their strategy.
And what of John Pitcairn?
That Foster's the craziest of the bunch. He's appeared behind the cards of Congress will send regards by way of cannon. It's all right, though. You'll have what's coming to him soon enough. Putnam just up ahead. You can't miss me. I don't care much for your excuse, gentlemen. We should be building on Bunker Hill. Breeds is closer to the city, but it is also closer to their artillery. I won't.
Seriously?
Gotta be fucking kidding me. And the nigga does that. What I gotta do, man?
They've better numbers, you say. Better weapons, better training. But I do not fear. And neither should you. For what they have in material, they lack in conviction and care. But not us. We have discipline. We have order. And most importantly, we have passion. We believe. So maintain vigilance. Serve your ammo. Ensure a proper line of sight. And above all else, men, do not fire until you see the whites of their eyes.
spoilers, this does cover in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which has been released for months now. And if you want to play that, feel free to click off and that is a little bit later. And that's my point. No spoilers, things that we don't know. Here's some games, really, emphasis on, and this themselves. In order to relive Ezio's memories. And this was done so that Abstergo could find the location of different pieces of Eden for their, world domination project. And he ended up killing himself before Desmond was taken in, and they're kind of right directly after. So after Clay killed himself, Desmond was abducted to become the next target. Interestingly enough, it's never, referred to as why was Desmond forced to go through Altair's memories instead of Ezio's memories. At least I don't think so. But in AC1, despite the fact that Abstergo already tried to go with the Ezio bloodline, they for some reason went with the Altair one for Desmond, despite the fact that Desmond was also related to Ezio. However, I think it could be simply time because the events of AC2 is much longer than the events of AC1, and because they were kind of caught on time, I guess it kind of just exploited the fact that Altair gets in contact with the location way quicker than Ezio ever does. So that's my hidden theory online. But going back to Clay Catherine, Clay basically killed himself in the end because the bleeding effect kind of made him go a bit whack. However, before he does so, then he uses his blood to make different symbols that you can see in the end of AC1. He imprinted his memory / consciousness into the memory data packet in the Animus that they use. And then that's why in AC2, when Desmond uses stealing, they can Desmond can interact with his consciousness at points by doing specific puzzles. In Brotherhood, there's a similar event. And then in Revelations, when Desmond is stuck in the Animus safe room, there's that's the only person he really gets to interact with because his consciousness is in the Animus. And then at the end of that game, when the Animus black room collapses, the Clay sort of dies, but he doesn't because Clay's independent consciousness is killed off as he no longer exists in the Animus. However, Clay also imprints himself onto Desmond as he is pushing Desmond out of the Animus, sort of kind of becoming a shared body, but I don't think it worked to that degree where you kind of have two people in the same body. It was more that it was kind of Desmond with the memories of Clay, and then he kind of it wasn't a separate entity. And then after AC3, when Desmond dies, we don't know if they ever become separate. We do know that Desmond is still alive, as we can see in the end of Valhalla, and by alive, I mean his consciousness is now in the grave, similar to how Clay's consciousness was in the Animus. However, the gray is just every internet kind of thing. And then we see him in the end of Valhalla when Layla finds him, and he is no longer Desmond. He is now the reader, and he basically just continuously reads the simulations in the tree, kind of trying to figure out how to prevent the next disaster, and we don't. I'm pretty sure there's no more Clay in him because there's no more Desmond in him. So it is Desmond is kind of imply that this is Desmond. However, he kind of also stops being Desmond fully, so it's not known if Clay still remains and if we're going to see him ever again. Moving on, we have the Truth. The Truth were those puzzles that Clay left behind for Desmond to find, and they kind of little mini puzzles that allow the player to kind of discover more about the world, simultaneously as Desmond was discovering more about the history of the world. That's all the Truth is. Moving on, we have Metal Gear Solid 4, Altair outfit. It simply refers to how in Metal Gear Solid 4 there's an Altair outfit. I would say it's very similar to an Easter egg. It's just an Easter egg from that series. I'm not sure why it's on here, other than it just being related. On that note, I might also add the fact that in The Witcher 2 game, there is a Easter egg and / jab of the Assassin's Creed franchise, where you can find a dead assassin in kind of the hay, when trying to go leap of faith that failed. The Metal Gear Solid box is a Easter egg in Brotherhood when Ezio is meeting Da Vinci for the first time in that game, kind of meeting him back up, and then he looks over and he sees a cardboard box, despite the fact that it's Renaissance Italy. There's no cardboard boxes in Renaissance Italy, but that doesn't stop the fact that Ezio sees this box and then looks at it and he's a bunch of countries like, what the fuck is this? And then he is interrupted and it's never really mentioned again. It's just sort of like just a joke kind of thing. Which brings us to the end of the first year and moves us to the tip of the iceberg, aka Tier 2. Get off Tier 2, we're going to be starting off with Prince of Persia Assassins. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a well-known fact at this point, but basically, if you don't know, Assassin's Creed 1, that didn't start its development as a separate entity. It began its development as a spin-off game for the Prince of Persia series, in which you would be playing as an assassin, and then there would be also rumored to be co-op in that game. However, I think early on in development, they kind of just decided to make it its own IP, making AC1. However, they didn't borrow elements from it, so they borrowed the hoods, I believe, they borrowed the setting of the Middle East, and then that's where the similarities kind of end. I mean, you have the assassins, I suppose, but that's what it is, just that AC1 didn't begin off as an IP on its own. It kind of molded and then became one after the initial spin-off game was supposed to be made of Prince of Persia. Which brings us into crossbows and AC1. This is in reference to the fact that the crossbow kind of weapon was removed from AC1 during its development, or right before release, or at least sometime after the initial promotional material was released, because in that promotional material, all player can be seen using a crossbow to eliminate his targets. However, later on, they kind of realized that that's not historically accurate, so they removed it. Now, Ubisoft never do that nowadays because you can, this is not to Ubisoft on historical accuracy anymore. But, in AC1 they cared about this sort of stuff, so they removed it. The Assassin Turkey, I believe this refers to the Easter egg in Assassin's Creed 3, in which after inputting, I believe it is the Konami code, you can summon near the Davenport homestead a turkey that would wear a assassin's hood on it after you input the code. Giant squid / kraken. This refers to the fact that in multiple AC games you can encounter a large squid. First was in AC2, and the second time was in a Black Flag in one of the diving sequences there, when you enter a specific location in that sequence. The Sunken Jackdaw. This refers to the Freedom Card DLC, in which one of the diving sequences in that game, which is a spin-off / standalone entry for the Black Flag game about Adewale, you can see Jackdaw, which is the ship that is being used in Black Flag itself, and Edward is the captain of. However, it does not imply that Edward died, because in the end of Black Flag, Edward back to Britain, and he sets up the assassins there, and I'm assuming he stole the ship / gave it away to somebody, and then it was sunken. I'm not sure if there's deeper lore to that, I just know it's sunken. And that's all you can find, nod to that. Subject Zero, this, I believe, is in a reference to Subject Zero, aka Alien Bach. Now, the reason she's referred to as Subject Zero and not Subject One is because she was herself an Abstergo employee / developer of her own parallel kind of animus. So while the Warren Vidic isn't in the animus that you can see in EC1, there's a second animus development that kind of allowed the user to do what the modern animus allows you to do, which is relive the memories of people who you're not related to. And the way it kind of worked is that she kind of made it, and then she used it on herself, and then she went insane and died because her animus was just so raw and it was so beta that, like, Warren Vidic's animus was a bit more safer, so they ended up using it that one, and she's referred to as Subject Zero because they saw the first time the effects of the bleeding effect, and that's what they kept in their mind, despite the fact that Warren Vidic didn't really give a shit, and then he still fucking got people to go insane with this one animus. So it wasn't that much safer, it's just that, the creator of the animus, the one who knew how to use it, herself went insane, so no one could use it, so they effectively had to default to Warren Vidic's one. Master Connor refers to Connor becoming a master assassin. I don't know if there's anything else to it. But really? I'm pretty sure it's just a reference to the fact that he becomes a master assassin in later on in his life. The Assassin's Creed 1 traitor, this is in reference to the accidental Easter egg. Now, it was meant to be an Easter egg, it was an accidental development kind of thing that they forgot to take out, which then became an Easter egg. Basically, I think it's only discoverable in the Assassin's Creed 1 PC version, the director's cut. I might be mistaken, and it can still be found in the original version for the consoles. However, in this cut, as far as I know, when you travel outside of Marcion, and then you try on your Eagle Vision, one of the assassins will be highlighted as red, indicating that he is the enemy. And this is because there was a planned sequence in which Altair would hunt down the person who betrayed the Brotherhood and sold out the location to the Templars. However, this whole sequence was cut because I think of pacing issues, but they never took out the fact that the assassin would be glowing red and marked as an enemy. So it's still in there, and it kind of refers to who this person is. I think there's also the fact that if Altair does kill him secretly, not actually know because they'll actually get infected, but if he gets killed, then no synchronization point taken away from Altair as opposed to killing an assassin right there, which would take away the damage. Now, I think that's how that works. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too refreshed on that one. That's all there is to it. This ends the second tier of the iceberg and allows to the shallows of the iceberg, aka tier 3. The shallows of the iceberg begins with there are 2 precursor boxes. This is a kind of a discussion that was sparked by Assassin's Creed Rogue when that was released, because in Rogue, Shay can be seen interacting with the precursor box, very similar to the one that is seen in Assassin's Creed Embers, which is it's a short movie about Ezio's kind of final days, where he trains an assassin from China. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm very sorry about that. But one of the focuses is the precursor box, and it kind of shows locations of different pieces of Eden. In Rogue, it's not fully confirmed if it's the same box. So there's a discussion about that. There was 2 different precursor boxes that kind of indicated the same thing. This was then disproven in a Reddit MAA. I don't want to pronounce it, I'm not going to lie. And in this Reddit AMA, the head of the Assassin's Creed content said that these are the same boxes, and there's not a second box, it's the same box. This moves on into Eziosa. Eziosa is the grandson of Adebale, and he was very featured in BBC initiates kind of program that existed at that time about him is that he's an assassin part of the Saint Dominic Brotherhood. I hope I pronounced that right. And he was heavily involved in the Haitian Revolution. As part of that, he's also one of the last kind of known people to visit the Davenport homestead, which we'll mention a bit later. Shay's destiny. This is simply the fact that we don't know what happens to Shay, and after the events of Unity, after he kills Arno's father, we do know that he eventually does have a grandson, as mentioned in the Assassin's Creed Descendant books, which have a character called Cudgel Cormac, which is, the grandson of Shay Cormac, and he was also an assassin hunter, just like Shay. Elijah is also from the multimedia. He is part of the comics for Assassin's Creed, and he is Desmond's son. It's not from a marriage, it's just, I think Desmond was, having the Devil's Tango with someone, and then he ended up having a son who was also a sage. And he also ends up killing Chino, which I mentioned later on. I don't know why I'm spoiling all this stuff from a later video. Moving on, we have Connor's speech. This refers to the fact that I believe it was that in the game there exists a script for a disabled Connor's speech at the end of the game, in which people who've heard it or read it, they say it ended Connor's story, and it was very reflective of his journey, and it kind of added more personality to him. And it's from the mainline from the game, and it's not really seen, and no one knows why. Why it was cut, but because people were saying it's very good, so they don't know why the hell it was cut. Moving on, we have Rita. Rita's an interesting character who was introduced in Assassin's Creed Origins, and the reason he's very interesting in terms of lore is because no one knows how he does what he does, and for context, Rita is introduced in Origins as a traveling merchant. He's a kid. He's around, I think, 12 to 13 years old, maybe 9, something along the lines of that. So very young, very early teens, if teens at all. And basically, he travels alone, and he's he's not prominent in terms of story, but he's prominent in terms of gameplay, as he offers a kind of exclusive awards for doing missions for him. He has his own currency, timed events, timed kind of products that he sells. And now, effectively, in the game, he's kind of mysterious. He tries to act all very old for his age, etc., sort of bullshit. But it can be, not as a joke. But then something gets very weird about it in the DLC for Origin, which takes place, I think, 5 years, if not a way longer after the events of Origin. And that happens. We can still see Rita traveling in the world, and then Rita doesn't age at all. Now, initially, I think this was just excused as a lazy developer, XP. They didn't want to change the model, so they just kept it. Although I think Bayek mentions how he didn't get older. But then in Valhalla, Rita is there, and Valhalla takes place 9 centuries after Origin, so there's no way that Rita is, there's no way that it's just naturally that he's this, young, and in fact, I should still see him alive in Valhalla, and the same age as in Origins. And basically, there's a couple of theories on why, but it's unconfirmed. As mentioned by Darby McDevitt, who was asked about this, the head writer for Valhalla, who has now since been part of the company, he said that the only reason Rita exists in Valhalla was because the now also left game lead for Valhalla, Ashraf Ismail, wanted him to be in it, and he didn't actually explain why before he left the company after special allegations came against him, which were kind of fucked. And that was during the time when Ubisoft employees, a lot of the head people there, which I mentioned later, actually, I don't know why I'm doing this now. Again, after Ashraf Ismail left, there was no real reason why he was there, only leaving now to interpretation. So a couple are that Rita's exist, so Rita's not canon, and it's just there for the player. I don't know if I like that, because I would just make it very fucking stupid. If you want it to be canon, there's other explanations of why. The first one is a not yet known about piece of Eden. It could be a variant of the Shroud of Eden that we can see in Syndicate, because the scarf around his neck kind of looks like it, has a similar design, but not necessarily. So I don't know if I subscribe to that theory full blown, because we know that the Shroud of Eden doesn't allow you to have immortality. It's simply, in fact, that's its only downfall. It doesn't allow you to be revived, or it doesn't kind of allow you to, it doesn't prolong your life. However, it does heal your wounds. So that's what we prolong your life in that matter. But it's like out of immortality, such as Rita portrays. However, this could be just another piece of Eden, seeing as Rita does have a lot of random shit that she shouldn't have, and a lot of it is pieces of Eden